Hello and welcome. This is Wilrens for Create a Learning Site, the place to go deeper in your understanding of the Bible. So, Henrietta Mears and Ending Bible Poverty. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Henrietta Mears, but she first caught my attention about a year ago when I found out that she had been a Sunday school teacher, or so I thought at the time. Turns out she actually was a number of other things as well, but a Sunday school teacher who published a book with an introduction to each book in the Bible. This is the book, What the Bible is All About. And as you can see, it's a pretty thick book. It has about 800 pages. And this book sold 4 million copies. That's when I thought, 4 million copies, this must be some book. And she must have been some Sunday school teacher. So when I was in the States, I bought a copy of this book and brought it home with me. But then this issue almost didn't get done. Because once I sat down with the book to take a good sample of its content, I came away disappointed. For one, it takes a clear dispensational stance, and I don't think dispensationalism as a theology is very convincing. And then it also has a clear, this is how it is tone. Even on issues or questions where there's no consensus among evangelicals and there's therefore room for debate and perhaps even a need for debate rather than an illusion of certainty. In other words, I felt a bit as if this book tells people what to think, but it does not teach them how to think for themselves, and live with open questions. So I almost did not do this issue of Create a Learning Site on Henrietta Mears because I didn't want to recommend the book. I think there are better ones at the present time. There probably weren't when she originally wrote it. But then came YWAM with End Bible Poverty. So this is the website, endbiblepovertynow.com. And this summarizes the aim of the project or initiative. First, getting a translation of the Bible in every language spoken on earth by the year 2033. Second, distributing the Bible to every person. And third, helping people to understand the Bible. So we could also say, in different words, one of its aims is biblical literacy. Now, after reading about this and Bible Poverty Now, Henrietta Mears was back on my screen, because if she did anything, it was raising biblical literacy in the church she served. That was Hollywood's first Presbyterian church. So, in effect, she was a Hollywood star, and in literally thousands of other churches. There must be something to learn from her life, even if her book has now been surpassed by others. Who was Henrietta Mears, and how did she do it? Now, Henrietta Mears, born in 1890 and died in 1963, was born in North Dakota and spent much of her childhood and youth in Minnesota. And remarkable for those years is that she went to college, studied chemistry, and became a high school chemistry teacher. Next to being a student and a teacher in those years, she taught Sunday school and other Bible classes, and did so quite successfully. So successfully that in 1928 she was offered the position of director of Christian education in First Presbyterian Church in Hollywood. Which she accepted, and she filled this position, director of Christian education, until the end of her life, so for 35 years. Under her leadership, the Sunday school program of this church exploded from about 450 to begin with to 6,000 in 5 years, and on to 6,500 at its highest point. Now, among the keys to this success, besides Henrietta's gift for teaching, was her insistence to have a curriculum for each age group and to train her teaching team well. There was a problem, however. Mears did not find any material that she considered good enough. What was available was either old and uninteresting and not very good by modern standards of teaching or educational theory, didactics, or it was liberal in the sense that it did not accept the miraculous, so she began to write her own materials. When other churches found out about this, they started to request copies. Now, this was a non-digital age, before even photocopiers existed. The requests soon proved too much for her staff to handle, and she founded Gospel Light Publications, a publisher still in existence today, to print and distribute the materials. This alone sufficed to make her the best known and most influential Sunday school teacher in North America and beyond. But there's more. She had always had a special interest in teaching college students, and each year hundreds of students went through her Bible classes. This age group she loved to teach herself, and many went on to become influential church members, pastors, leaders, and missionaries, especially those she had trained to be teachers in one of her Bible groups. Among them was Bill Bright, who went on to become the founder of Campus Crusade for Christ, now renamed as Cru. In fact, for the first 11 years, Campus Crusade for Christ had its office in the home of Henrietta Mears. And by the way, Billy Graham considers her the most influential woman in his life after his mother and his wife. Now, at this point, it becomes clear that Henrietta Mears was as much about leadership development as about Sunday school teaching, if not even more so. Here's one quote to bring that out. If one were to single out her greatest legacy, it was the leadership whom Dr. Mears challenged, motivated, and trained for the cause of Christ worldwide. At a fairly early age, she discovered her life's purpose of challenging young people into leadership and developing that leadership. And she was consistently true to this vision. So there is much more to Henrietta Mears than that one book, What the Bible is all about. A survey of the Old and New Testaments, although this book, at 4 million copies and counting, was important as well. It was based on her lecture notes for a 1-year-long Sunday school class for high school kids. So after 1 year, these high school kids were supposed to know all the books of the Bible and have an idea as to what was in them. I wonder if the adults in our churches know the Bible that well. So how did she do it? Here are some of the keys that made her ministry so effective. First, there is an emphasis on the whole Bible. She insisted on having a comprehensive program, one that included teaching the whole Bible book by book. As noted, her best-known publication is a one-year curriculum covering each book of the Bible. She did not ask on Monday, what subject or story shall I teach on Sunday? Her programs were age-specific. She was adamant that each age group should have its own program geared toward their specific needs and learning abilities. Then she emphasized best educational practice and excellence. She insisted on following the best principles of her day, the best insights and theory related to teaching and learning. Good Christian teaching requires more than what happens in public schools, but never less. She invested herself in teacher training. In order to make it work, she put much of her time in the training of the volunteers working with her. Then there was an emphasis on practical discipleship. What she taught had an application to daily life. She did not train scholars, but disciples. There was a strong foundation of prayer. Those who knew her testify to the importance of prayer in her life. Then there was a real interest in people. She valued people, championed young, promising leaders, and always had time for people. She was a tough but loving mentor to many. And then there are the outrageous hats and other fashion apparel, for which she also became famous. Now, in case you don't believe me, you have to go to this website, henriettamears.com, and check out the photo gallery. Where this quickly becomes obvious. So, next time you have to teach, you could give it a try. Put something unusual on your head and see if it makes a difference. Obviously, Henrietta Mears was a power woman, and there's no point trying to copy her. No one else can become Henrietta Mears. We can only choose which version of ourselves we want to become. But we may want to embrace her cause, biblical literacy, and make our own contribution to it. Biblical literacy for the whole church. She created a learning site in Hollywood, of all places. So can we in our own location. Imagine a church where all members know the whole Bible in a way that makes it a guiding and decisive influence in their daily living. If you'd like to know more about Henrietta Mears, I suggest you head over to Create a Learning Site at www.wilrens.org. At the end of the blog post on Henrietta Mears, there's several resources listed related to her, including her biography, which is worth reading, free of charge.